And yet, how does an economy work? You know, you go to the grocery stores. Oh, I buy yogurt for my son, and I go to the grocery store, and he likes this very particular yogurt. It's what is it? So it's organic and it's vanilla. And a lot of times when he asks for vanilla, he's young, and people think he's slurring his speech or something. But no, it's because it's banana and vanilla blended into one, right? So it's got to be that. And also, we like to get the big container because he goes through it like it's nothing. And so if you get the little ones, it's more expensive, and you're going to the store every other day. So recently, for some reason, the store has just been out of it for like 4 days in a row. And I'm just outraged that the big container of the organic vanilla is out. I mean, I have to buy the little vanillas. And that's just such a hassle, right? And I just can't believe this outrage that the store, and I probably could go down the street, and the store down the street has it, but what a hassle is that, right? So if you see, I mean, just the things I'm taking for granted, just the very particular things that a market economy delivers every day, whereas in the Soviet Union, people literally would be in lines for bread. And I don't mean they wanted, whole wheat, 50% reduced fat bread that this particular company made, and they wanted to just walk down the street instead of going 2 streets down. No, I mean, just to get bread for the family, they had to wait in lines. All right? And it's not that Americans are so much smarter and better people and the Soviets were dumb and they didn't know about how to produce food. It was that the system that was in place in the Soviet Union was largely what's called a command and control economy, or socialism, whereas the United States, at least it used to be the case, the system we had here was free market capitalism, and that's less and less true every day, unfortunately. But that's what's happening. That's why we just take it for granted. Just like you flush the toilet and normally it works and you don't even think about it, whereas a plumber could really tell you what's going on, and there has to be people who know how that works. Same way a market economy, economists can tell you, at least if they're good economists, can tell you, why does that work? How is it the case that, just think about all the people that are involved. When I go to this store, first of all, somebody must have arranged to have ordered all that food that's on the shelf that's just sitting there waiting for me to look over and to say, what do I want to buy? And then I just assume when I go to the cash register that there's going to be someone there whose shift happens to, have them there right then to take my money and to ring it up and so forth. Okay, so that's why I brought up that movie example about when you're on your own trying to get even 5 people to go to see a movie somewhere. That's a huge undertaking, and yet if you think about the coordination that was necessary for the people who made the yogurt, the people who had to store it to make sure it didn't spoil, that it was constantly refrigerated, the guy who had to drive the truck, the people who had to load the truck in the warehouse to bring it to the store, the manager of the dairy department who had to order enough to make sure it didn't run out, and that's all just automatic, so that when it's gone for 4 days, I'm just beside myself that this is an outrage. How could this happen? All right, so you see what I'm saying, that it's very complicated, and that yet the stuff just happens automatically. So that's partly what economics is about, is it studies how is it the case that this just sort of magically happens on its own. There's an economist in the 1800s that he was a French economist, and he said that it's a miracle that Paris gets fed. Right? That's the way he summarized this sort of wonder, that it's amazing that just all these things happen, that you don't see a bunch of Parisians just starving to death, whereas you do in communist countries. You did have mass starvation often, right? That happened in China, it happened in the Soviet Union, and part of it was, and the historians in the crowd can discuss this at greater length, but some of it you could say, well, it was because the people in charge were actually evil and trying to inflict that on their political opponents. But be that as it may, the point is, under communist countries, people literally, sometimes, in many cases, millions of people literally starve to death, whereas in capitalist countries, that doesn't happen at all. It's, you're outraged if you're out of vanilla in the big container for 4 days. All right, so that's part of what economists do, and they study that and they understand how does this system work, whereas the average person who doesn't really know much about economics just takes it for granted and just assumes, yeah, you go to the store and there's food there.